Waging war on corruption, crashing to the lies and disinformation. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Back on the network, 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Retransmitted to Genesis. Replayed back-to-back on the internet streams at Infowars.com 24/7. And I come in Sundays, 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, 5 to 7 Eastern. Right here on the GCN Radio Network. I'm going to hold Tarpley a few minutes in the next hour to finish up with false flag terror after we're done with calls, and we're going to let him go. Really appreciate his detailed analysis and breakdown today of where he sees the world and how things are unfolding. Great perspective always. Let's go back to Annie in New York. You had one other question, Annie?
Yeah, and just give me a minute and I'll get off the phone and he can answer. You've got the CIA and the corporate media with Operation Mockingbird. Congress has been bought off by the corporations. The courts are corrupt. Homeland Security has bought off law enforcement. The biggest story of the decade should have been about that FEMA videographer, Kurt Sonnenfeld. And, Webster thinks that we can do it through elections when we know that all these computerized voting machines are rigged. People say when push comes to shove, gee, aren't we there yet?
Well, that's certainly the pessimism of the intelligence, but I think you've got to supplement that with the optimism of the will. I don't say through voting alone, but through a mass movement. In other words, get political and have a program. You've got to know how to end the depression, and slogans will not do it. Free market won't do it. Big government is bad. That won't do it. You've got to know what you want. It's got to be very specific.
Well, I know at least this. I know we can do at least this, and it's simple and it's true. The private bankers, the Federal Reserve, they did this. It's their fault. Their answer is more of the same, expanding what they're doing, audit the Fed, arrest the bankers, prosecute them. The Federal Reserve broke the law with this Bank of America thing. That's like Bush breaking the law with warrantless wiretapping. He tries to get Congress to pass a retroactive. That's what this federal takeover of the Federal Reserve is. This reform is them trying to legalize the crimes they've already committed. Arrest the bastards. Get that drumbeat going. In the Fed, arrest the Fed. And then, with them removed, we can, just having them off our back, will then open a vacuum of, okay, what's the solution? But until you arrest these bastards, I don't see anything happening.
Yeah, and add to that, who should pay for the depression? This is a depression. Who should pay? The bankers say, Obama said, we should pay, we should have Medicare, Medicaid gouged, we should lose our Social Security pensions, we should have the descent into barbarism, old people on welfare should die, what you're seeing in California. Who should pay for the depression?
By the way, you're not just saying that. You're not just saying that. Biden has said that. Daschle wrote a book saying old people don't get brain surgery. Ma'am, I appreciate your call. I mean, you cannot make up how evil these people are. And again, they use the right wing to say no welfare, nothing, all taxing is stealing, and at a certain level it is. But then they use that phony right wing argument to make sure all the tax money instead just goes to offshore banks, and we get none of it. I mean, it is just, and the left is saying tax the middle class, they're the enemy, when that's the main engine. I mean, everything is engineered to consolidate power. Let's take another call here. Let's talk to Robert in Texas, and Robert in California and others, but we have a call from Italy we'll go to next after that. Go ahead, Robert in Texas.
Hi, Mr. Jones, Mr. Tarpley. Pleasure to talk to you all today. I'm going to go through just something real quick here. In regards to what the last lady said, I think that if everybody does just a little bit or just what they can, that'll make a difference. I mean, a bucket of water is not a lot, but 1 million buckets of water is a torrent. And with that being said, I have called before because I do, every once in a while, I try to get on the radio shows, the mainstream radio shows, and put a little truth on there. And I was able to get into Sean Hannity's show. I was able to get by his screener and talk about how the Bilderberg Conference fixes the oil prices and how Mr. Tucker and Mr. Esselin were able to predict that 2 years before the huge spike last summer.
Yeah, no, I put that in Endgame. What did he say when what's documented in Endgame came out? Did he just say it didn't exist and hung up?
Well, what happened was I called him. I had the video up on my channel. It's Funkmaster 5. I've called here before, and that's 5 spelt out, not the number.
Okay.
He started ranting about conspiracies, and he even mentioned a mothership UFO flying around or something like that, you know. And then he hung up on me promptly before I could mention Endgame, because I had plenty more to say, but he cut me off pretty quick.
Well, that's what they do. I mean, Hannity admits they're trying to set up a Bank of the World, New World Order, and he says, oh, we're right, but only because he has to give us lip service. The rest of the time he's there trying to discredit us. Webster, this isn't going to work anymore. There is a world empire being set up, and they can't deny it.
Look, I was at a conference recently. I put a picture of Lewis of Bank of America, Blank Fine of Goldman Sachs, Pandit of Citibank. I said, whoever gets all three gets a copy of my new book, Surviving the Cataclysm. Nobody could name all three. And I suggested, read less about flying saucers and more about your class enemies. Those are the bankers.
Absolutely. They are criminals. We'll be right back. Let me tell you a little bit about one of our great sponsors, HomeGain.com. This is the place to get you started buying or selling a home, finding a realtor, and getting any real estate questions answered. Go to HomeGain.com and see what I'm talking about. All you need to do is type in your home address, and you will get an instant free estimate of your home's value online. This is a great way to be able to monitor the value of your home. And again, it's absolutely free. There are tons of tools to help you. For instance, if you want to remodel your home, go to HomeGain.com. Use their Home Sale Maximizer to help you determine which home improvements can most increase your home's value before you put it on the market. For 10 years, these folks have been helping home sellers and buyers. Visit their link at Infowars.com. Look for Max, the orange Home Gain Gorilla, to help you with any real estate needs you might have. You'll love this site. It's HomeGain.com, HomeGain.com. Check them out today. All right, I want to get into some financial news, break down briefly what I think happened with that governor, play some clips. I went to 4 hours a year ago because I wanted more time, and now it seems like 4 hours isn't enough. That's probably my fault. Going back to Webster Tarpley and a few final calls, and then he wants to talk to some about this news about could there be a bank holiday? Because we've been hearing about and confirming that the embassies are being told dump their cash, their U.S. dollars, and buy up the local currency. Now, is that for war? Is that for a bank holiday coming? We'll get Tarpley's brief comments on that in a moment and talk some about false flag terror, the ace in the hole for the establishment that we've got to expose. As he says, break that tool by exposing that tool so they can't do that to make people rally around the system and run into the skirts of the establishment. But Salvatore in Italy, you're on the air. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, Alex. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Salvatore. Welcome.
Yeah. Hi. I'd like to talk with Webster Tarpley.
You're on the air with him.
Avanti.
Okay. Ciao, Webster. Senti, ti posso parlare in italiano? Volevo
Meglio
una
di no.
domanda
Why
al
don't you
volo.
say it? Maybe I can make it real quick. I'll translate it for you. But quick.
Ok. Volevo sapere se stavi seguendo la vicenda politica di Berlusconi in Italia.
The question is, am I following Berlusconi? What's happening?
Yeah,
to Berlusconi?
why are they doing the scandal with the hookers?
Well, maybe I'll
dire
just...
è che è chiaramente un attacco che proviene dalle centrali inglesi e londinesi nei confronti di
because
Berlusconi.
this is an attack that comes from the British and the London intelligence centers. I think we understand the question, Salvatore. Let me just answer. Berlusconi is the most pro-Russian of all the European leaders. And this is a tradition in Italy. It goes back to the 20s and 30s. Even under fascism, you had companies like Fiat and others going into Russia, Soviet Union then, building things. Berlusconi is a big guy for the South Stream pipeline, which is the pro-Russian pipeline, as against the Nabucco pipeline, which is the imperialist U.S., British, and European central bank. So I think
all these guys have girlfriends, and they're all allowed to have them, and boyfriends, as long as they don't get out of line. The minute they do, like an Elliot Spitzer or this other Governor Mark Sanford, it's over. Are you saying that's happening with Berlusconi?
Yeah, obviously. He's the most pro-Russian of all the Europeans. He's the best from this point of view. In other words, he wants the obvious thing for Europe is promote East-West trade, promote energy exchange, European technology.
Okay, so he was
Russia.
good for Bush and one of the few allies to want to go into Iraq, but now he's out of favor. I mean, is that what you're saying, Salvatore?
Well, he's an opportunist, of course. He's an opportunist. During the Gulf War, he was. You got to remember who was giving you the nuclear umbrella. One of the things he was interested in was maintaining a U.S. nuclear umbrella over Italy. But the other thing is, if you look at where the Italian troops went, they went to the Italian-owned Eni, the state oil company, ENI. They went to guard the Eni oil wells in Iraq. They didn't do anything else. They were just there to secure Italian interests. And then Bush said, "Oh, they're joining us on the fighting front." They didn't do the fighting front. They did guarding.
I understand they hyped all that. I mean, you could have a maid from Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic, and they'd say the Czechs were supporting. Does that answer your question, or do you have any other comments, Salvatore?
I want to say that is the Sunday Times and the Times of London who are attacking prominently against Berlusconi, and the owner of this
Rupert Murdoch. Yeah, no, it's Rupert Murdoch going around talking to the hookers. Yes,
he has a lot of problem with the Sky network.